Greetings everyone, welcome to this new video. We're gonna do an exciting challenge today, which is our one Exalted Shaper Kill Challenge. So what is the one Exalted Shaper Kill Challenge? It's where I take one popular skill, which is Soulrend plus Bane today, and I trash all my gear. With this one Exalted, I then go to PoE Trade or the GGG trade site, and I buy all the different gear pieces, all the flask and all the jewels we need for this build, and it needs to be below one Exalted. With this, I should be able to kill a Shaper in a decent amount of time, and I also need to sustain a high clear speed on normal maps, and hopefully you can see that in the background right now on my Elder T16 Desert Spring, that it has decent clear speed. Also, I downgraded my character to level 90 to better simulate how it is to be a new player. So there's no level 100 character here, it's only level 90, which you should be able to reach by the time you reach Shaper. Also, I am not counted in my gems, which is all level 20 no quality gems, which you should also be able to get without any problem by the time you reach Shaper. So why am I doing this? Well, it's best described by the old proverb, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, teach a man how to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. Hopefully, by watching this video, a new player can go out and pick their own build, any build out there, or any skill, and then just build it up from scratch themselves. Because most builds presume that you have multiple Exalted orbs, and that is not really good for newer players. Or if you're in a new league, for example, where you have nothing to start out with. So hopefully by looking in the description and what I'm searching for, and you can set up this yourself for any kind of skill in the game. So you don't need to pick the ones I'm using. I'm trying to give you the means to actually go out there and do it yourself. And I give you that by sharing my path of building link, and I share all the different searches, and I'm also gonna show in this video a sample on what I'm looking for when I go to PoE Trade or the GGG trade site. So without further ado, let's just jump into it. So for important stats, it's gonna be quite simple. We're gonna go to our trusted websites. It's gonna be this one and this one. What we're gonna do here, first of all, is gonna pick one specific part of this build we wanna upgrade or one we wanna start building with. So I'm gonna pick helmet, for example. I'm gonna pick any of these helmets. It doesn't really matter, except if you put the intellect, because then you're gonna get a lot of energy shield, which we do not want. If you want the cheapest build, always go with life. So we want to make a life build that has high resistances. We always want in endgame to reach 75% in resistances. So we want to first look at our life on our helmet. The highest one we can see here. The other ones are from essences and other things. It can go up to 90. So we can go to our trusted GGG trade site here, put in helmet, and we're gonna put in life here. And we're gonna put pseudo in here. I'm gonna explain what pseudo means, but we want 80 of this, because if we put 90 in, it might be much more expensive. And we're gonna go a little bit lower here. We also want resistances. As you can see here, the max roll on these is gonna be almost up to 50 or 48 in this case, and that goes for the other ones also. So we can have 3 of each. That means we can have 3 prefixes and 3 suffixes on an item. So we can have all the way up to almost 150 in just resistances, but we're not gonna go that high. So we're gonna put resistances here, and we're not gonna put in total elemental resistance and pseudo again. Pseudo is such a good way, because especially when it comes to resistances, because you might have 30 lightning, 30 fire, and 30 cold on your item. What pseudo does, it takes all those resistances and clump them up together, and it will tell you if you search on 90 here, then this item will come up, because 30 plus 30 plus 30 will be 90 in total. So if you don't really care in the beginning what specific resistance you need, and you just want a lot of it, then you would put in the number there. So let's just put in here, and as you can see here, it's quite high. Maybe we want to go a little bit lower. Maybe we put 70 in here, and we might have better luck. And as you can see, these are one chaos item, and this is a perfect example of what we actually need, because this one has tier 1 in, it's the highest life here, and it also have 2 resistances. It's not super high, it's 70% in resistances in total, but as you can see here, there's only 2 of these blue ones, which is 2 suffixes, and there's 2 prefixes. We can either decide to craft a suffix or a prefix here. We're probably gonna pick a prefix, or sorry, a suffix, because it gives us more resistance. And if we click here, we can get up to 20 to cold and lightning resistance, or fire and cold resistance, or fire and lightning. So that is another 40, which makes this a super good end game thing, and it has high evasion and everything. So this item I would definitely look out for. If it has an open suffix or prefix, you really want to look out for those. For our second thing, we want to take a look at maybe a one-handed weapon, because we're gonna need one of those, and that is a little bit harder. So one-handed weapons, we would probably go with a wand, because a wand has spell damage that are implicit. That is the top one. I'm gonna show you that in a moment. And we want spell damage, of course. Here it's spell damage can go all the way. So if we go down here, spell damage can go all the way to 75 to 97, or 79, sorry. And we're gonna put in spell damage, also pseudo here, and because our implicit is also spell damage, so it adds that spell damage on the wand plus with the implicit. So we're gonna put something high here, maybe 70. And we're gonna also put in chaos damage to spells here. This is where the extra comes in, because then we need a specific base here for the make that happen. That means we need chaos damage to spells is an elder base, but we don't really need to worry about that, because this will find it for us. So I'm going to put in the search here, and as you can see, voila, we have one item for 2 chaos. It has chaos damage to spells, which puts it on top of our spells. It has high 88 increased spell damage, and because some of these are, for example, this Socket Game supportable level 16 effigy is connected with another mod here, we actually can craft one more suffix, one more suffix on this item, which is very good. So we can go to our crafting bench and just pick something for a one-handed weapon, which is probably gonna be, I don't know, chaos damage. Where is our chaos damage? Chaos, and there we have it. No, that's the other one. Chaos damage, there we have it. And we have a GG endgame weapon just for 2 chaos. So that's all I have for you right now, and you can take a look in my description for all the trade links that I gave you, and you can just tweak those numbers a little bit depending if the items are too cheap for your budget, or depending if it's too expensive for your budget. You might need to lower those parameters of life or spell damage or whatever it says there. And I'm just gonna leave it here, and you can see my trades that I did. I have done all the necessary trades, and here we go. To the right of every item, I put Prender's coins, which represent how many chaos I spend in total of that specific item. And down here is how much I spent on crafting the items, which means maybe put extra sockets on it, maybe link it, maybe change a few colors and stuff like that. And also put in some quality on all of these. In total, we have used only 81 chaos, which is quite a feat when it comes to this, because that is well below. Well, I think one Exalted right now is over 140, so we're almost down to half an Exalted for just this, which is very good. I'm gonna go through first the specific pieces that I'm using, just because these were recommended by a build guide, which I'm gonna put into the description to give some credit where credit is due. So we have some unique pieces that I want to go through, which synergize very good together. So first of all, I'm just gonna put them on while I'm talking about them. So Essence Worm, first of all, we're gonna have our Malevolence. I can't even pronounce that because it is 50% mana reservation, but if you put it in this one, we get extra level and it does not reserve any mana. Perfect. We don't reserve any mana for our specific skill. We also, it's gonna use these two items are very good together. First of all, the boots here, it's gonna be has dex on it because we need some dex for this build. We have life, we have high movement speed and dodge, but it also gives us 100% increased evasion rate during onslaught, which is going to be up pretty much all the time. We're going to show you that later. For our shield, which we cannot put on real now, we need to put on other pieces of gear for to reach the strength requirement. But this shield is extremely strong. So first of all, it has all the stats we need. We need the life, the chance to block, and all of that jazz. But also, you have onslaught while at maximum endurance charges, which together with this fragile and this fragile, we are gonna take the endurance charges down from 3 to 2, 1, and finally from this item to 0, which means we're going to be at 0 endurance charges, which is our maximum. And also at the second to bottom is plus 3% to all maximum resistance while you have an endurance charge, which means our resistances don't go up to 75% anymore, they go up to 78%, which is extremely good. So these items synergize very well together, and because we have always onslaught, this buff also happens. We have also this spreading rot, which is with at least 40 intelligence in radius. Blight inflicts withered for 2 seconds. With at least 40 intelligence radius, Blight has 50% increased hinder duration. And that one we're gonna put in a specific position is here, or yeah, we're gonna put it here because it has 40 intelligence. It do not need to be allocated, but if I put it in here, it can actually, it's actually enough for us. We're also gonna put these in just to get started here. For our other pieces, we are gonna obviously have our chest, which is gonna be our really high life, and we want some resistances on it. We're gonna put that in. Our spell, our wand, I bought another one here. This one also very good. All the stats we already talked about. Our helmet, same thing here. We can craft some, we had an open suffix, so I crafted some cold resistance. It's good when you're setting all this up. Obviously it's easier if you buy one piece at a time, but I bought all of this at once, so I left some suffixes open so I can fill in the gaps where I needed extra resistances. For our hands, it's just going to be high life and high resistances again. And also for our belt, same thing, high life, high resistances, and maybe some stats also. So I chose to pick one with high strength on it. So that's the implicit, the top stat right there. For our Amulet, we are going for strength again, because we're gonna need a lot of strength for this one. We can also pick it up at our skill tree. And we also picked up some critical chance. We're not a crit build, so we don't really need that. And we picked up some spell damage. Spell damage might be a good stat to go for on the Amulet. For our ring, we have it's life and mana. Mana is very important for this build also, because we're gonna use mind over matter in this build, which means that every hit we take, 30% of that damage is taken from mana before life. So it's gonna use as extra damage on our build. So even though we not have super much life, you can count in 30% extra on top of this, because that's what's gonna happen. We're gonna take on these, and these are just gonna be our normal flasks. We want curse immunity, of course, and an instant recovery for some, in case we take a big hit. We're gonna have freeze immunity here on this flask, and some dodge and some phasing when we want to run through enemies. We want to have high movement speed, so we use one of these. And we want remove bleeding, because when we're running around, we do not want to be bleeding, because that is a real killer. And finally, we have a smoke cloud, which makes us much harder to be hit. And we have evasion. Evasion is very good on this build, because we are using face acrobatic and acrobatics. So armor and energy shield is gonna be hit, but we're not stacking those anyway. And it's gonna make us dodge almost every hit. So that is our greatest defense. Let's see if I can find the final socket for our build. You probably have already seen it here. It's here at the bottom. And there we go. If you want to take a look, I have it in the end also. You can just copy this, or in my path of building, you can also see it. For our main setup in gems, it's gonna be a Soulrend, a Swift Affliction, Arcane Surge, Efficacy, Greater Multiple Projectile, and Unleash support. That means when we hit here, this is for clear speed. And if we want, we don't really need it for I used it on Shaper. I switched out the gems, so Void Manipulation instead of Greater Multiple Projectiles, and Control Destruction instead of Unleash. So you would just switch those two, and instead you have one of these Soulrend going out, but with much greater power. But for all other purposes than Shaper or really hard bosses, then you would just keep this. I killed most tier 16 bosses with just this. So for our gloves, we have Temporal Chains, and we have Despair, 2 curses, and we can make 2 curses happening, because we have, you can apply additional curse here by Whispering of Doom up here. So we afflict that by using our Bane skill, which is this one right here. So we put that on harder enemies. Normal enemies just die directly, or even magical enemies die directly, so we don't need to do that. But it gives us some Despair, gives them less chaos resistance, and also Temporal Chains gives us more time to react to all of this. And for our boots, I just use Phase Run, because I like Phase Run, and Clarity. So Clarity is going to take up double its mana, but it's not taking up much at all. As you can see, it's only taking up as soon as we have that. There we go. It only takes up a little bit of mana, honestly, 390, which is not much. Because we want to treat the life and mana at the same rate we treat everything else, because we want the mana to regain fast. As you can see here, if I'm putting out, I'm getting everything up in full speed anyway, so I'm never losing mana. And every hit is gonna take from our mana pool. So if we run out of mana, we're pretty much dead anyway. Other links, we have Spell Totem with multiple totems. So when I put it out, I get multiple totems that can cast a spell, and we're gonna use Blight here Obviously this reduces movement speed and gives chaos damage and stuff like that, which is very good for us because that makes our bosses move super lethargically slow. Other ones is cost when damage taken. Immortal Call is very good if you take a big hit. It basically just let us take a breather and gain our life and mana back. Righteous Fire, we are after the Val Righteous Fire here. Do not go for the normal Righteous Fire here. Be sure to click the right one. It gives us an extra spell damage in the end. Other links, we have Flame Dash to get out of sticky situations with faster casting, and Calling Strike. So when the enemy is at the last 10%, you can just Flame Dash through it and it will die instantly, which is very good on really difficult bosses like Shaper or Guardians and stuff like that. Otherwise, this is very basic. Just look up my links in my path of building. Otherwise, you just stop where you need to in this video. And without further ado, let's do the Shaper kill. there we have our Shaper kill with our Soulrend build. It felt pretty good, honestly. I've been playing Winter Orb for way too long because I'm not used to actually targeting the boss with any of my skills. Winter Orb, you just wind up the stacks and let the Winter Orb do all the targeting for you, which makes it super much easier to do all this content. So if you level this up normally and not just buy the gear in one sitting and then go directly into Shaper, you would be much better at clicking all the buttons, putting all the debuffs up and doing all that kind of jazz on the enemies. But with 81 chaos only spent on this, I think it's extremely strong and a little bit maybe too strong. We might see a nerf in the next league. At the end of my Shaper kill, I also show off my gear, my skill tree, my ascendancies, and I use 2 points as my bandits. If you don't have Path of Building, it's all there. You can get Path of Building on Android phone and on computer, so you might want to take a look at my Path of Building in the description. In the description I also have my trading and some other information you might be needing. If you have any questions outside of this, please put them in the comments and I will try to answer them as quickly as possible. And thank you so much for watching this video and supporting me by subscribing and putting a like on this video. Have an excellent day.